Sorry. I'm already sitting in my evening. Yeah, my day has not begun. Uh, so we are about to begin now. So I would request anyone outside to come in and join us. If they are still finishing their coffee, they could, they could just bring it in. So everyone inside the room, and we are ready to begin. So good morning to everyone. Now I'm fully awake, and I hope we all are. So we have Jim and Tony here who are going to start the day with Kaizen Camp, and really excited because it's happening in India for the first time. And I think we'll not waste much of their or your time, and I'll just call over Vibhu to formally begin the day. Yeah, Vibhu.
I should say good morning. Good morning, guys. So some of you know me. How many of you had come last year to the Lean India Summit, just to see if people have come anywhere? So some reference point there. So this, so I have a few things to start, right? So both these days are sort of fun-filled days. So we'll start with, sort of, typically it's an Indian tradition, right? We light the lamp and we put the diya and we start well. So I would like to invite Jim and Tony to come here. And then I would like Vinay to come here, then maybe Shailu to come here and help us light the lamp and start the session. So Jayashri, can you help, please? Go there. Go in the front, be in the picture. You have to be in the picture. Be in the picture, no? Yeah. It's morning, you guys can clap more than that. Thank you. Okay, that task is done. So I'll keep moving this so we can start the day, right? So, I'm glad you guys are here, and I can tell you you'll really like both these days for two reasons. So we have been doing these conferences in the US as well as here. So Lean India Summit is now its second year, and before that we had done another event in Hyderabad. The difference here is we absolutely don't theorize on anything. We really try to have a practitioner perspective. We if something is not working, we talk about it. So we have been working at this. I'll introduce you later on the volunteers. It's almost 1 year of work to get something like this going. So just finding the right people and different kinds of things. So the conference, I don't want to call it as a conference, it's sort of a meetup of people, and where they can share their thoughts and learn from each other. So that's the goal of Lean India Summit. And so I'll tell you why, what's the purpose behind this and why are we doing this. So I noticed a few years back that, there's lots of Agile conferences in India. I mean, Scrum conferences, Agile 2014. And I noticed that all of these conferences are meant for some, people who have outside come. Lots of stuff happens, but local folks don't get to participate a whole lot. Like Agile 2014, I've applied, I've been rejected pretty much all the 14 years of it's been going on. So I got tired of it and said, let's just start something, And that has now become sort of Lean India Summit. The purpose is, I think, the thinking in Lean influences a lot more than Scrum or Kanban. Those are all there. But the lean thinking sort of becomes the premise of most of the work we do. So this conference is sort of bringing the bar a bit up. So we're not really going to be focusing on Scrum. I mean, I'd like to talk about Kanban. But really, it's about how humans interact. How do people work together? And what kinds of things they see, right? So that's the intent. So it's called Lean for Everyone. That's the theme for this year, right? So I encourage, there's nothing like you are right or wrong here. There's no one that's perfect here. We're all here to share and learn, so feel free. And if somebody challenges you saying you're wrong, immediately come and tell me, and I'll tell them that you are wrong, not that person, right? So enjoy both these days, right? So that's about the just what the intent is, of this conference. So we'll do again next year. If you all, again, we'll do this tomorrow evening. If all of you said it's a useful conference and you would give some feedback, next year it will happen. End of tomorrow, all of you say, that's enough, guys, then next year will not happen. Okay, so you decide tomorrow evening whether this session should go on next year, and we'll try again doing it next year. The theme may be completely different. You're going to help pick the theme tomorrow evening. Okay, so just a bit on how these 2 days work. So my job is to be your impediment removing person. So whenever you need anything from a crocin, coffee, beer, whatever you need to keep yourself happy, you can look for people who have, just look for people with the same color shirt from Solutions IQ, or just look for me and say, I need this, okay? And we'll be able to help you and make sure your day goes happy. So today is just something called Kaizen Camp, and I'm going to have the people more qualified to explain what it is. But today is a sort of a fun day. It's a one full day of learning. So you will be mostly in this room. There's not going to be much talk, is what Jim said, and Tony said. So I'm curious. The funny part is we all come from Seattle, and I'm meeting them first time. I think they are 8 miles away, and we are meeting 8,000 miles away here. Which is interesting. So that is today. Okay. Tomorrow morning, again, we'll start in time. We'll end in time. So that means 9 to 5, maybe 5:30. We'll close tomorrow. Tomorrow there are series of talks, and workshops. So you will get an agenda like this. Right now you don't have much with you because we figured today's event is just in this room. Why worry about an agenda? So tomorrow you'll get your agenda for this, and make sure in the evening when you go out, pick this up, so you can decide when you come out which ones you want to go on. Okay. So that's about the general conference. Day one is more of doing thinking work, and tomorrow is you can choose between some sessions, talks, games, things like that. So there's different things tomorrow. Okay? Any questions on this so far? On how these 2 days function? Okay? I would encourage you to sort of, don't worry too much about specifics like Scrum or, but stay a little up. Try to push the discussions a bit up and think about a higher level if we can, right? So what else? So a bit about, we have spoken about the history of Lean India Summit. So just a little bit about us, Solutions IQ. So we live and breathe this agile thing for the last 14 years. We are headquartered in Seattle, Washington. All of us are passionate about what we do. So even if you come to our house, we probably are doing Lean, Kanban, Scrum. So there's no difference for us between work and home. Almost all of us enjoy what we do, and we have fun at work. We are working, with around 300 companies in US, India, China, other places, in actually helping customers achieve some sort of move from waterfall to agile. And we have developers, we have all kinds of people who work in this skill. And most of us, generally stay for 8-10 years because this is fun. Why go somewhere? We're a flat organization. We don't have any managers. We select the work that we do. No one can say that we should not work on this thing or that thing. If we don't like something, we just can't. We'll say no. We won't work on that, and that's perfectly okay. Okay. And we have only one manager who was called Chief Executive Officer. Now Charlie is called as Chief Impediments Officer. That's it. There's no other managers in the company across 300 people globally. Okay. So that's about us a bit, and you can learn more on Solutions IQ and what we do as we go through the day. I do want to thank our sponsors here. Because of them we do this. So Intel has been gracious enough to sponsor this event. So thanks to Intel. Anybody from Intel here so far who has come here? Thank you guys. And then Solutions IQ US is also sponsoring this event, and that's about the sponsorship. Okay. Last few things. If you have any impediment, I spoke about it, right? So reach out to me or reach outside. If you have feedback on any of the sessions or you want to say something to Jim and Tony, they're here. We are open to feedback. So there's nothing. Feedback is exactly what drives these events well. So don't hesitate. Step up. Let us know. And if you have to write down sticky notes, and outside there's a wall called feedback. It'll come up in some time. And there's one wall called impediment. Okay. If you put it there, that's like the highest priority for us. We'll go and fix it. So test it out. Put something and see if you actually get it done. Okay. Restrooms just are outside. I think if you go left, it's on the left side. Breaks will be, I think, around 2 hours from now is a break. Okay. and then we'll have lunch around 12:45. During break, we are hoping to not make a line, so decide if you want coffee or tea before you go out. It's a lean conference, so we don't want to have a line forming anywhere. So make sure you decide that. We are having multiple lines there. So you can pick something, come in fast, and then lunch will be there, and then afternoon there's a break. Okay, so a tea break again. Last topics here. In this evening, there is a dinner we have. It's like a what do you call? It's a little bar thing. We do celebration in this evening with speakers, with some folks in the industry. There are 5 tickets. It's not a ticket. We would like to give 5 people in this audience to be part of the dinner. It's around 6 o'clock, 6 to 8 o'clock. If you're interested, there is a dinner. You'll see a thing outside later, lunch or something. Put a name there. We'll pick 5 names from there. But you're welcome to be there and participate with speakers or just ask any questions. So that's coming up. Some names will be there outside. 5 people from this audience. Okay. That seems to be all. I think I've achieved what I had to do. So next is I'm going to invite Jim and Tony. So they're going to take it here, and they have come all the way from Seattle for this. So I want to give you a huge round of applause to welcome them. And I know you guys will have fun.
Thank you. So good morning. I'm Jim Benson, and with me is Tony and Dee Maria Berry. And as you can see, if you look through this whole word cloud, I have the smallest name in all of India. No one is here who has a shorter name than me. It makes me feel very self-conscious. I need to add more syllables to my name. And so Tony Ann and I are part of a company called Modus Cooperandi. We like to take lean and agile ideas and turn them into actual useful things. So how can we get our work done better? How can we enjoy our lives? How can we get better work-life balance? Or as we like to just say, balance. Because when I go to work, I'm alive. I think that everybody else here is pretty much alive when they're at home, so work-life balance should be just balance. And so tomorrow I'm going to give a keynote, and when I give the keynote, I'll get up and I'll say a lot of things. And that's my day to say a lot of things. But today is my day to say a little bit of things. And so today is Kaizen Camp. As Vibhu was saying, we travel around a lot and do this. So in the last few months, we've been in Oslo, Norway, and Hamburg, Germany, and now here. And then after here is Santiago, Chile, and then on to Antwerp in Belgium. So we tend to get around a bit. And by the end of the year, we won't know our names or what time it is or whether we're supposed to be awake or asleep. We'll just be completely confused. But regardless, we're here now, and as this card reminds me to say, we are happy to be here. So thank you for having us. So it's a Kaizen camp. This is a Kaizen camp that we're doing right now. So how many people here know what Kaizen is or the word Kaizen is? Okay, so about half. That's what I was expecting. So Kaizen means continuous improvement, but it's kind of a misleading term because Kaizen itself is about balance. Because if you just do continuous improvement all the time, you will become pathological about it and it will become imbalanced just like anything else. So part of the goal of Kaizen is to know what to improve and when and the right size of things to improve. And so everybody here is a human, and we all like to think. And we do things every day, and we learn every day. And we have this habit of coming to conferences where we get in front of some person like me who just tells you things. But you have a lot of things to tell each other, a lot of experiences to tell each other. How are you managing stress at work? How are you managing the workload that you're getting? How are you communicating with the peers on your teams, with the people who are working for you, and with the people that you're communicating with in other countries and other time zones? What challenges do those pose? And how do those impact you as individuals and as groups? So what we'd like to talk about in Kaizen Camp is not about Agile, or not about Lean, or not about software development, but about how do we interface as human beings who are alive and have families who love us, and we talk to other people who have families who love them, and yet sometimes we say, I hate that person, they're awful. And it's like, well, no, they're not awful. They actually have families that love them too. Maybe we should try and communicate a little bit better. So at a Kaizen camp, and why we would like to have a little camp about this, is to get together and talk about what solutions we found to communication problems, to work problems, talk to each other about them. So we're going to get together at tables and have conversations. We're not going to have lectures. So if you've been to an open space where everybody puts up topics and then you go and you listen to them give a little lecture, and usually not a very good one, now what will happen is we'll have topics at each table, and each table will just converse about those topics. And so how does that work? So at each table you have one of these, and it says basically the 40 million steps for having a Kaizen, or for having a lean coffee. But what you really have to do is write down what you want to talk about, vote about those topics, and then talk about those things in order. That's really the only three things that are important here. So there are topic cards on each of the tables, or in the tables in back there's just post-it notes. And we write down the topics that we'd like to talk about. We will take those topics and we'll populate a backlog with them, like this. Here's all my topics. And then we say, this is my topic, and this is what I think about it. And everybody gets 2 votes. And I don't have a voting thing. You have your pen, and you just write which 2 things you'd like to talk about. And everyone at the table votes. And after a while, something gets popular, and we talk about it in order. That's it. It's, the first one might be a little rocky, but after that, we'll flow right into it. We've done this a lot, so I have faith in everybody to write down what you're going to talk about, vote on it, and then talk. I think we can do that. So after we've talked, or while we're talking, we learn things from each other, and we have ideas. Ideas are one of 2 things. They're either funny or they're threatening. So if you feel like something makes you laugh, you've probably just had an idea. If something makes you kind of upset or a little confused, that's also having an idea. And so these are called epiphanies. Like, aha, I just figured that out. And so we write down epiphanies on these epiphany discs, or on the post-it notes. And then there's a column over here that says epiphanies, and we populate that. So what happens is we'll go through rounds. We'll do this 4 times today. And each time we do it, we'll take the epiphanies afterwards, and we'll talk to each other from other tables about the epiphanies. So we don't care about the topics so much. We care about what we learned. And so our goal here today is to learn from each other and to share that learning. Yes, so in my first bit of disruption, because you all look very comfortable here in the morning, because of the structure of the room, how many people have ever had a project? Any project? If you don't raise your hand, you're lying. Okay. And then how many people had a plan about what they were going to do to run that project? Yeah, how'd that work? So whenever we have a plan, some of the things work and some of them don't. So today we thought we would have a part of the room where we'd have a big Kanban to run all of these topics. Well, guess what? The Kanban's in the hallway. So, come on everybody, let's go to the hallway. Done yet? What we're doing, stuff we're going to do, and then the epiphanies, which is the actual value that we produce. And so what we're going to do is we have lots of pens, and we have to improve or things like that. We will write those on these pieces of paper, scribble, 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 take off a piece of tape. Our Post-it notes didn't make it through customs, but our tape did. So introduce what their topic is, and then we will pull what we want to talk about. And a Kanban has a work in process limit or a WIP limit, so we want to always limit the amount of things we're doing at a time, because if we do too many things at once, we can't focus, and it is a bad thing. And I'll talk more about that tomorrow. Yes, Tony Ann actually gave me one, and I completely forgot to show it to you.
Is there such a thing between work-life balance?
Yeah. Is there such a thing as work-life balance would be a topic? Or communicating with clients might be a topic. Or might be a topic. All right, clapping people. All right, so these little cards, the little square ones, are like the squares that we just put outside. So you all have a topic, and you all have things to talk about that topic. So write down whatever you want to talk about on these cards.
Unless you're in the back tables, where you don't have the plastic value streams on your tables, kindly use sticky notes that we provided.
Yep.
Put your topics on the sticky notes.
Yep. Every table has a backlog or a ready column. You'll populate those with the ready column. And then after that's all populated, you vote. You put dots on the ones you want to talk about. And the ones with the most dots, that's the ones that you pull in that order into doing. And then you talk about them in order. Right?
call a kind of shorter planning cycles.
So everything. The question is then you have to always
No,
based
see,
on the
it's
kind
like
of
that-
requirement you should start making teams. Like
Project management triangle, right? You cannot have the fixed triangle, right? I mean, it will not work.
every sprint you have to make different teams to execute that.
Your team composition is just keep on see every time it is journey you will be able to release at any time.
Honestly, I do not know how many teams or companies are very serious about
Forget about our company as a
Doesn't apply because I have worked with it and I have found it doesn't work.
In general, in company or any work when we do, even as an individual, the complacency sets in. Even
We're still making it.
that is what like we are becoming.
And we are also still eating
the
it.
complacency stagnant. The reason for complacency. Correct. Because of
What we cannot do out of the bound, we know that our guys, we have to maintain. We are a service company, we have to maintain the pyramid. If things are not working out, we basically.
last year, companies are maybe let only you part of the what I'm saying is about
Like many music teachers are notorious for being very harsh and very strict. And the disciples learn a lot. This is the intent. They are doing it because it's going to help the students. It's not like they're blindly doing it.
very good example.
Enable leadership. As long as you can see yourself leading the space you value, one should have
And you have to make a process around the defects to say, how does this defect map back to my design process? How does it map back to my personal thinking? If you just keep writing on the wall what went good, you don't get anything from anybody. Because there will be a set of people who will talk, there will be a set of people who are silent.
Let go. Is it more of your anxiety or their anxiety?
It is actually more of
That's a very good advice.
and that is anxiety is because
I'm keeping myself really like delegating and waiting it. Any other so that's interesting. Does anyone else have learned or what I'm saying is there are some contexts where teachers are they're taking direct instruction. There are situation people allow them to do.
you should hear from them. Probably they should understand.
To get everybody to stop talking. So I'm always afraid, like, oh, will people enjoy this? And by the time you get rolling, it's like, oh, I can't stop talking. So what we'd like to do now is really quickly go over the epiphanies that each table had. And if your table doesn't have epiphanies, start writing, because we'll come to your table, then you'll have to have one. And then what we'll do is after you read them off, I moved the epiphanies column in here so that it's where we are and so that you can hear better. So what we'll do is, so since I have this little microphone, is I will, hey, you're all talking again. I must not be very interesting. You all hate me. Oh, there's the big microphone. So I can walk from each table to table, and you can tell me what your epiphanies were. And it looks like it's on, but it's not making any noise. I want to make noise. Make noise. There we go. Yes. I'm sorry. All right. Sounds good to me. All right. So we're going to start from the back of the room and then what the epiphanies were that you had. So who wants you? You motion.
Yeah.
All right. Pay attention.
So our topic was that getting out of the comfort zone, complacency and stagnation.
Hey.
So the topic which we selected was complacency, comfort zone and stagnation. And we have few epiphanies here. Those are ways to come out of the ATTD in software. But yeah, culture regarding performance evaluation inhibits risk-taking and taking new challenges. I mean, making the team members get onto the new things like getting them apart from the daily things which they do, making them do something new. If they have some new ideas or something like that, encouraging them to do those things. And one more discussion which we had was that retrospectives which we are going to have were not that effective. So what we had suggestion we had was different techniques for retrospectives, innovation games, changing the facilitation or something more, trying it out, changing the location of that. And one more thing is that this comes to be the special thing, like rigid role definition. Specialization brings in complacency. Like if any person is getting specialized into one of the field, like engineer is doing the same work for the three years or 3 months, let it be a fixed time, he gets to an expert level on that thing and he gets into the complacency mode. So what we decided is that we need to make him change into different things, trying him to make out, try new different things.
Thank you. Who wants the microphone? Ah.
Yeah. Was allowance of failure.
No. They were ready. Oh.
Okay, we
weren't connected
discussed and debated on two topics under allowance of failure.
Okay.
One of the things was
then yes.
rewards and recognition to be given on failure. Okay, so this is. Was that clear or okay? Rewards and recognition to be given on failure. Okay, I would just run through the epiphanies which we made note of on this. Why this is so important to reward and recognize failures. It actually harbors a culture where people are encouraged to take risks, and there would be appreciation for risk taking within the organization. And it's very important for everybody to be courageous, and without courage, innovation generally doesn't happen. And without failures, innovation doesn't happen. So failures are generally, I would say, the stepping stone to success or innovation. Otherwise, there are always learnings from failure. These learnings are very important. Success, yes, we all feel good about it, but failures are the ones which actually brings about learnings to the table. No, I think I covered. I did cover. Okay. Yeah. And the second subtopic was how to prove that as management we accept failures of teams, and how not to behave with teams when failure happens. So the epiphanies on this is, one is very important from the management is the conversation with the team, and not to penalize the team, to empathize with the team, to understand the reason for failures, take accountability for the failures, be part of the failures, okay, because they are part of the system, part of the project, and also, if there is a failure, it is not somebody else's failure, it's a joint failure. Okay, so these are the things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Table 9.
Hello. We are talking about sustaining the change. Epiphanies from our table was for any change to sustain, the first thing that we need to understand is whose need is it really to change. So it's an important part. If you're going as an agile coach and if you're pushing the change, then it becomes your need. So how do you really create a buy-in within the team, within all the systemic elements, and then helping them to understand and believe in the change will what sustain the change. So that's the first epiphany. The second one is to make the changes visible. It's very important, even if it's a small change, bring it out and make the change visible so that not only the team, but a lot of other people also notice that change. So making the change visible is another point about making the change sustainable. Because when others notice and when others start talking about it, that's when it reinforces in people's mind that, yeah, this is a change which people are noticing and it is bringing value to me, and and it is being noticed by others also. So I need to sustain this change, right? And then the third part is what we have observed is in most of the transformations, people believe that transformation and delivery are two different projects, right? So there is this agile, okay, that's another project, and then we have to also deliver. So nobody really, not many people really try and integrate the transformation and delivery and then say that transformation is for your delivery and for making it better. So your efforts towards integrating that at all point of time is an important point in sustaining the change. So that's our other epiphany. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello. You've got a large group. You should have a large number of volunteers to talk about this.
Yeah, our topic was performance management in agile teams. We had a lot of debate, and as you would have expected, there was no clear consensus because it's a very, very tricky topic. There is nothing right and nothing wrong, and you can't do away with it because there was a topic about saying that should we even do away with the performance management. So we talked about a lot of interesting things. Bell curve, should it be there or not? 360-degree feedback, does it really make sense? Do we get value out of it? And what are the matrices we can use and objectively and data-driven performance management? Again, there are not many consensus on that, but few interesting takeaways where bell curve, everybody said from different angle, we still need to appreciate good performers, and also that's really important, and also help people who need support to improve. So we need to overall increase the team's output and the performance over a period of time. So there is a need for recognizing who is doing well, and also when we break it down into how do we measure it, we talked about we can directly measure from a project perspective what are the goals achieved. That is one area where we can do it pretty easily. But the remaining in terms of how individual contributed, then we need to break it down into various aspects of in terms of how the person is contributing in other areas, how many innovative ideas they are coming up with, how they are helping each other in a collaborative environment. All those aspects are key. We also talked about 360-degree feedback, which is really important. But also Agile gives a flavor of feedback then and there as part of the sprints, which collectively can be used. And few things which came out is superhero, a way of recognizing teams, recognizing who is a superhero for each sprint and making it visible. And also we talked about multiple avatars, using it, and then also bringing out who is helping others, not only delivering their own task, bringing out who is helping others, again by putting it up on the board of with a different color so that everybody sees who is actually contributing, because it's an open, we want it to be open environment where everybody understands who is doing well, who is doing not so great, and so that we can help. rather than doing it in a silos of a feedback. So that's something which we talked about. So these are the key topics we talked about and some of the takeaways.
Thank you. All right, so I think it should be pretty obvious what's going to happen next. Who wants the...
Hi, everyone. So the topic for our table was how do you bring about a culture of Kaizen? Now, we started by opening the discussion with why Kaizen and not a breakthrough or something that brings about innovation. Now, the services industry where we work, it's important that we first bring in the culture of making people understand the importance of making incremental and continuous improvements, because that would stabilize the processes that we work in. And to bring about a breakthrough, or we need to go ahead and innovate, and we need to redesign or re-engineer. So that's the difference that we broadly discussed. And to usher in a culture of Kaizen or continuous improvement, it's important we involve our team members from with the people who are there on the shop floor, the team members. So it has to be a bottom-up approach instead of a top-down approach, because it's easy. Lean is really easy to kind of assimilate, and we can imbibe that in our day-to-day work to bring about that incremental change. And to sustain the energy in the team, or to sustain the performance, we don't really need to always look at the metrics, the performance, but what we need to do is make visual boards, or where we can even put up pictures of our team members, and they can go ahead and represent their moods or professional moods, as in, if they are happy with the work that they are doing. And if they are able to bring about that happiness like to the desk, the work will definitely improve, and the performance of the team will improve. And so it is equally important to reward them, to recognize them, not only in in some monetary or incentive form, but also by talking to them, making them visible in the team meetings, etc. So that's primarily what we discussed. So these are the fun, the basics of ushering a culture of Kaizen and continuous improvement.
Perfect. All right.
Hello, everybody. So we had the topic called virtual teams and making agile work. Yeah, literally making agile work when we are working across time zones. So I know that we all work across time zones. We are all global citizens at the end of the day, but we do have problems when we want to make it perfect. So we brainstormed a lot. There were a lot of thoughts here. This table was also an interesting mix. We had a PO, we had people who are lead managers, we had people who have a lot of experience working as Scrum Masters and so on. So when we brainstorm, what we see as our epiphanies are like competence building is the key. If you are working across time zones and we want to make it successful, say I'm working in India and I'm working with another team who is in China, I have to have the competence in my team to say, yes, we can deliver a potentially shippable product at the end of our sprint. So if competence building has happened in the team which is in one region, then we have achieved the most of the hurdle. So what we can do to move in that direction, we can move closer to nullify the risks which we can see. For example, we can move closer for the key meetings, the key kickoff meetings, the key project meetings, product backlog grooming, and we have it for whatsoever period of time that the organization can support from finance point of view, and we make it nullified, basically. We also thought that when we are working across regions, we all agree across regions to have define common houses of working or principles of working, how we work across. We use technology, we use a common way of probably updating a wiki or things like that, which brings in the communication gap lesser. Then a workshop by the PO, PO who holds the whole product backlog and would be having a tearing time at the end of the sprint to know if really things will get done. So a workshop by the PO at the start of each sprint with the Scrum team to really go understand with the team and be sure that the things will really get done, and it will be understood also to say that he gets a hunch that it will get done. So yeah, these were the epiphanies which we had, and that's all I had to share. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So our team, the topic was requirements management in Agile, which is very fancy to most of us. I think some of the themes in which our argument started was how do we minimize the wastage across the entire life cycle from ideation till the deployment. So towards that, some of the epiphanies that we agreed was, I think everyone needs to be aligned on the vision or the big picture. A lot of the times the challenge is with communication. So keep that big picture thinking always. And maybe starting with that requirement slicing or story mapping prior to release planning also helps to imbibe that big picture thinking. And knowing the monetary value of the features that whatever you deliver also helps in prioritization. And also most importantly, frequent customer feedbacks, irrespective of whatever be your demos or release cycles. And in case of startups, I think that we had a case where few people were from products, few people from services, and also from startups. So we said test marketing in startups, and I think we said from lean startup pivoting, where you change the strategy when based upon your feedbacks, and early and continuous integration when you are working with dependent applications. Another problem statement that we also took was, how do you deal with business versus architectural features in requirements management? And someone said, maybe, why can we do a 80-20 rule where in every iteration, there is a continuous at least 20% attention on technical excellence. And most importantly, know your MVP, so to prioritize. I think these are the summary list of whatever we discussed.
All right.
Good morning. So the topic for this table was, team normalization and, pushback. Okay. So we started off with, how we are going to normalize teams where you have people with different levels of experience inside the team, and who should listen to whom, okay? And the discussion went on, and it landed up with this takeaway point is that we have a conflict between doing business versus doing agile, okay? So business is a top-down approach. People pay for getting things done, and agile is a bottom-up approach where the team decides on what they want to deliver in a sprint, what are the features they want to give out, and things like that. In the business, you have a time constraint, which probably might affect the team on how much they can learn during a sprint and how much they can achieve during a sprint, or all those things like that. Okay, and so considering all this, hullabaloo, we decided on things like negotiation. That is negotiation with the customer, negotiation between everyone within the team. So, there should be a negotiation happening always to decide on how much is in scope, how much is out of scope, and how much is a team allowed to learn and how much is a team not allowed to learn during a sprint, considering the fact that we have to balance both the team growth as well as the business output of the organization. And we also decided that even if it's a starting team, the more a team becomes cross-functional, the more it's automatically normalized, right? So that's our takeaway point from this table.
Thank you. Table 3.
Hi, everyone. Our topic of discussion was perfecting a solution Should there be something called a lean design or architecture? Should the design evolve? We have something called an MVP, a minimum viable product, that we derive out of a bunch of requirements. So should we design or should we architect only for the MVP, or should we consider all the requirements, and then even though we may not use it in entirety, should we design it from day one? So we had a lot of discussion, and I don't think we arrived at a conclusion, but we do have a few takeaways. One thing that we all agreed is keeping the spirit of lean architecture. You do keep the architecture lean, however, you also look at it holistically. What are the potential incremental changes or enhancements that your product has to undergo, has to be taken into consideration while you're thinking of your architecture. Because even though software, we say it's soft, it's malleable, but we still bear the cost of redesigning it. So when you have a bug report from the field, rather than doing a quick fix, look at what's really causing it. Do you have to redesign? Go ahead and redesign it. And the second takeaway was make them modular, keep them more plug and play. Even though you may not create all the modules, make sure your architecture takes care of the plug and play part of it. If in future, if you have to remove a few modules or if you have to add a few, it's there. At least it's potentially scalable. And the third one, the third takeaway we had was, we all think technical debt is bad, but then there's also something called good technical debt, where you kind of borrow from future and say, for now, I know I'll probably have to change the design or architecture in the future, but then I'll keep that in mind. However, I'll not go ahead and design it. I'll just keep it enough. I'll keep the design enough so that in the future I can make those changes, but I won't make the changes right away. So those were our takeaways. Thank you.
Thank you. And table 2.
Good morning, everybody. This table is having good wealth of experience. So a lot of agile coaches, leaders are here. I'm representing their thought process. The first thing is, our topic is learning versus metrics. First of all, we want to ask you, how many of you are agile mentors or leaders doing performance appraisal based on metrics? I'm sure it's a good question to start with. Okay, so there are a lot of examples are being quoted, and there's a good thought behind it. The first thing is, half of us are actually thinking about learning, and half of us are actually debating on metrics. So critical, but time was not sufficient for us. Okay, the first thing is, one example quoted is, I have son and daughter. My son has a cycle. My daughter wants another cycle to learn. Then as a father, I say, you just learn cycling using my son's cycle. I'm not putting a target to you, but you learn. Then the daughter learns at the earliest. So it is an example where if you don't set any metric for learning and intent is clear, people will learn at the earliest. Another example is, can failures be the source of success? Can we allow more failures on the ground so that team can learn on their own? There's a thought. Now again, more stories came. As a parent, can you allow your child to cross on a road? Just leave them alone, especially Indian roads? Then another example says that a music teacher or a sports coach, they will be intolerant in the beginning stages. Is it right? If you are not strict as a music teacher at the beginning, then can we produce best songs out of their ability? Okay. Then similarly, what we are actually thinking is, it's about situational coaching and situational leadership is what is the key. So the point is, the intent of the metrics need to be clear rather than the perfection or the perception. The second point that is coming out is right mindset and right metrics. First, the right mindset is important. Why are we implementing metrics? How they are going to help us? that kind of consensus need to be built instead of going in a command way. Okay? Then third point I'm trying to say is for learning, probably metrics may not help. But for organizational improvements, definitely metrics may help, because at an organization level, we need to benchmark where we are going. So we actually wanted to close the topic saying that it's situational coaching that actually are the key. So for learning, probably setting metrics may not be the right. Probably we need to educate team on the intent. But for organizational improvements, probably using the consensus, we may build some metrics, making the intent very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. And table one, the first table is the last.
So this team primarily focused on mindset changes, right? So we all go to Scrum classes and Agile classes and all that, but if there is no mindset change achieved, then what's the point, right? So that is where we were talking about. One of the challenges that we discussed was, how do you go about achieving these mindset changes? That was the main topic that we had. I mean, the first epiphany maybe sound like a duh, but I mean, it's still pretty important. Let's get the buy-in, right? So make sure that they're really in it. They've invested their, their whole, they really want to do it because they believe there will be some changes, right, in whatever they do. The other epiphany is that this thing takes a lot of time, right? Mindset changes takes a lot of time. It just doesn't happen overnight. I am a pretty impatient coach. I want to see results very fast. It just doesn't happen, right? So that was the epiphany that I had, thanks to Jessie from GE, that she shared a lot of examples. The other thing is to cross-pollinate the believers with the non-believers, right? Believers are people who have achieved those mindset changes. Can you try to see if they can cross-pollinate them, maybe move them from this team to that team, and make this happen that way? Yeah. A few other suggestions was, find out, if you overall look at the mindset changes not happening in a particular team and more happening in another team, then see, can you classify them into, hey, these are really cheerleaders that we can take advantage of, take their help with, and then go and, it's basically around the whole cross-pollination idea, right? So can you see, oh, these are really strong believers, let me pull them and put them into a different team and see if they can help us out. Did I cover everything, or is there anything else?
Regional differences, so how would you have work in a large distributed team, and he specifically shared some examples from the German side on how big planning and command and control could be a challenge in the initial phases, and a lot of insight more on the value add, or what problem are you solving, should be the fundamental thought process for an agile coach. So we speak more agile, and what we should have as a behavioral change, Deepak put it up very well in terms of, as agile coaches, if we change the way we talk slightly by talking about the value instead of the practice, we will probably get more mindset changes.
Two things I want to talk about really quick are that number one, tables 1 through 7, if you could see Tony Ann after this so that you can get your epiphany cards up on the epiphany wall, that would be great. And then, so what just happened here was a room full of people who may or may not have known each other all managed to sit down at tables, very quickly come up with a meeting agenda, and have a very systematic meeting about something that you cared about. Usually the way that we have meetings is somebody says, I'm going to have a meeting and I'm important, so I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. And then you get it and you say, oh, I don't want to go to that meeting. And then you go and you hate the meeting, and then that's life. So what we would like to see are more meetings that are run like this, where an open invitation goes out and somebody says, I'd like to talk about this. And then you can come and you can talk about that. And when you get there, the people who arrive are the people who set the agenda. Because I, as a meeting thrower on my own, I don't know what really needs to be talked about. But us as a collective consciousness, as a collective wisdom, we do know what to talk about. And quite often we'll find that when we go into companies and work with them and we'll say, what's your biggest two problems? And they'll say, well, we have problem A and problem B. You go through the whole company and say,